This is Adrian Biddle, producer of The Dark and the Wicked, The Blackcoat's Daughter, and The Monster, and you're listening to the Horror Squad podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Horror Squad podcast. This is episode number 343, where tonight we are going to be talking about 2001's The Others, starring Nicole Kidman. I'm here, of course, as always, with Steve. We are currently Toddless, but with the power of Steve's editing magic, he will be joining us for our review a little later on while we review The Others. In the meantime, Steve, it's just us two, buddy. How you
Yeah.
doing? How's your weekend? Anything new?
I'm tired, Joe, because Todd is cracking the whip on you and I to work on the secret project that we've been teasing. And then now he leaves the recording early, and then he says, "Oh, and do my bidding and tease the secret project." So all I could say, I don't know how much he wants us to tease it. All I could say is it's coming. We are done final drafts pretty much, or first draft pretty much of the project, and we should have an actual official announcement soon. And it's going to be fun. It's going to involve you guys in some ways, and yeah, it'll be a good time. But he's been cracky. He is just on us nightly.
Indeed, but it's actually been good for me because I am a very big procrastinator in real life. So the pressure is what I need, I feel like, to get stuff done. Otherwise, I'm just like a slacker when it comes to deadlines and stuff like that. So I actually appreciate the pressure he's been putting on us for this. I am very excited for this secret project we have coming up. If you joined us for our event in Monroeville, we actually told the listeners that we're there. So see, if you come to events, you get even more secret stuff.
Yeah, and
So,
I will say this. I also gave more details to the people who came to movie club last time
oh, there
because
you
they
go.
asked, and I'm like, you know what, I'll tell you a little bit about, like, not much, but I told them a little bit what it was. So when you
Mhm.
join us for those kind of things, we
Yep.
got loose lips apparently.
Indeed we do. But yeah, so we should be announcing that I think by end of August or
Yeah,
early
yeah, for sure.
September is
Mhm.
our plan for secret project. It's going to be a call to arms, honestly, to you, our listeners. Yeah, we'll need your help to get this thing done. So we'll appreciate any and all help and support you can give us on our secret project. Steve, I just saw you put out a vote on Movie Club
I
coming
did.
out for this month. What you
Mhm.
got?
Yeah, so this movie club, I like to put themes out and then ask for recommendations for the movie. This month is going to be a back to school theme. So people are now voting in our Discord for what movie we're going to watch on August 30th, which is a Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern. That's when we watch the movie together. Currently leading, I believe it was either Prom Night or Jennifer's Body. So, but there's still some time. In fact, the day that this episode releases, you will have just that day left until I close the voting. So join our Discord and join. Come check out Movie Club if you can. It's every month, but yeah,
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, it's always a fun time. I wish I could make them more often, but join Steve and all of the members who join us for Movie Club every month. It's always a really fun time over there. Chat horror with fellow fans, watch horror movies with your fellow fans. It's an awesome time. I do before we head into horror news, I want to remind everyone it's just a bunch of Halloween weekend is fastly approaching. I actually hung posters the other day downtown for it. Exciting times. I'm actually meeting Jason Marsden this weekend. He's actually coming to Salem for a meeting. So yeah, we are in the final stages of the planning for It's Just a Bunch of Halloween Weekend. Please join us. Do not forget it. October 11th through the 13th in Salem, Massachusetts. The whole squad will be there. Me, Steve, Todd, even old squad member Sam will be there as well. We are hosting the movie screening Sunday night. We are going to be emceeing that we are very excited for that. That's going to be at the Cabot Theater in Beverly, a very short ride from Salem, just right over the bridge, very close. You can Uber over there for that. Everything else will be right in the heart of downtown Salem. Friday night, we are doing the party from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. Tickets are still available for that. The Samhain celebration is what we are calling that. Saturday is going to be the autograph signing with the whole cast. Once again, Omri Katz, who played Max Dennison, Vanessa Shaw, who played Allison, and Jason Marsden, who played, of course, the voice of Binks the Cat, and then also Jay and Ice, Tobias Jelinek, and Larry Bagby, the two bullies from the movie, will also be there, all signing autographs for you guys. That will be at the Salem Waterfront Hotel. And then Saturday night, there will be a burlesque show, Hocus Pocus themed, where the cast will be in attendance for that. And then Sunday, Trolley Tour, which currently is completely sold out, but there have been a few cancellations recently. So if you would like to attempt to get on the Trolley Tour, you can go to itsjustabunchofhalloween.com, and there is a way to sign up for the waiting list for that. And then, of course, the screening on Sunday. So we're excited for all the events. We will be in attendance for just about all of the events. So please join us once again in just 2 short months. It's Just a Bunch of Halloween weekend. It's justabunchofhalloween.com. Buy tickets because we have bigger and hopefully better things planned for next year and the years to come. So where it won't just be Hocus Pocus is the hope, where we're hoping a whole thing. So we'll see. So, but we need your support, because without it, it won't happen. All right, let's get into it, Steve. Let's spill a little tea.
Do it.
Oh, you want the tea? I'm sorry. We don't serve tea. Nope. Instead, you get a cup of Joe. And now here's Joe with the news.
All righty. Thank you so much, Chuck. And here we go. Here is your cup of Joe for the week. Let's start off with some pretty interesting news that came out just the other day. And that is James Wan is currently in talks to direct a Creature from the Black Lagoon movie. Man, Universal's had a real struggle with trying to make new Universal monster movies. They've tried, sort of this like action-packed sort of universe, and that failed miserably. And then, Lee Winnell did Invisible Man, which seemed to be pretty good, and we kind of haven't seen anything since. Supposedly his Wolfman movie is supposed to be coming out pretty soon. But yeah, this is definitely exciting. Obviously, James Wan and Lee Winnell are pretty close friends, so I'm sure maybe Lee Winnell kind of gave him a little push or something to join in on this new Universal Monster thing. But yeah, it was reported by Deadline that James Wan is in early talks to direct a new take, of course, on the classic Creature from the Black Lagoon tale. It will be, of course, Universal and Atomic Monster recently merged, so that will be with Blumhouse. So that will have something, of course, to do with it. Deadline noted in the report that James Wan is developing a grounded, modernized retelling that leans into visceral horror while paying respect to the original classic. And that's really all we have for right now. Seems like a fantastic choice. Steve, what do you think?
I mean, they're gonna remake it regardless of
Right.
what happened. So if you're gonna remake it, I think James Wan is as good of a choice as you're gonna get for people who are probably available for this thing. I mean, obviously his writing partner Lee Winnell did a great job with Invisible Man, so there's no reason to believe that this wouldn't be a hit. Other than his last 2 aquatic movies, no good. So who knows? Hopefully a third time's a charm. For those who don't know, he did the 2 Aquamans, which were just not good at all. But he seems to just not be. I don't love his non-horror stuff. His horror stuff's mostly hits for me. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. I hope it's mostly practical. He tends to do mostly practical from my memory. I don't remember a lot of CGI that he has in his films. Even some stuff that you assume is CGI usually isn't. Good examples. Crooked Man. Almost everyone's like, "Fuck, that CGI is terrible." It's like, no, that was a practical fucking creature there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it could be cool.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll keep you guys up to date. That probably a few years away until we actually see something like that. But exciting. We haven't had a creature movie. When? Like
Shape of Water, I guess, kind of.
kind
But
of, but yeah, it
no,
wasn't
an actual
officially.
creature movie, not
Yeah.
since what, the 50s, 60s?
Yeah, 60s maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll keep you guys up to date. Next bit of news here. This one potentially could be really interesting as Jenna Ortega is currently in final talks to star in an upcoming J.J. Abrams top secret untitled movie for Warner Brothers. Now, why is this interesting? Because a lot of people, a lot of rumors. Could this be a new Cloverfield movie? It seems to be the hot thing on the streets right now, being talked about by fans. Few details currently are known, according to Deadline, but they said, other than it's not a time travel movie. Now, I don't know why. I mean, I don't know where that report came from. J.J. Abrams, though, did write the script, and Bad Robot will be producing. So I ask you, Steve, are we looking too much into this? Or will this be a new Cloverfield movie?
It's the way that they're presenting it that's giving the Cloverfield vibe, right?
Right.
To my memory, there's only 2 movies who successfully pulled off like a kind of drop at the last second, which is very rare in film. And the only 2 are Cloverfield and Blair Witch also did it. It was called like what, The Forest or something?
The Woods.
Or The Woods for a long time. And all of a sudden it's like, surprise, bitch, it's Blair Witch. So
I actually have the poster for The Woods.
nice.
It's pretty cool.
Piece.
Yeah.
So I think that's why people are essentially going to Cloverfield. It's also the same people kind of attached, so it makes sense. I just don't know if Cloverfield's a big enough name to warrant Jenna Ortega, because she's as hot as you can be right now as far as a name goes. So that would be a huge get for a franchise like Cloverfield, but who knows? What do you think?
I mean, I hope, right? Like, like it's been a while since we've had a new Cloverfield movie, right? I mean, what we got 3, right? Is it 3 total Cloverfield movies?
Yeah.
We got the original 10 Cloverfield Lane and then the shitty
Paradox
space
or
one.
something,
Yeah. That kind of came out. Was that the last one that came out?
Yeah,
Was
I
it
think so.
Paradox? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think time, right? If they're gonna do a new one, now would be the time. I feel like A Quiet Place is sort of taken a lot, like is borrowed in some ways, a lot from that Cloverfield universe. But I think it makes sense, right? Like Jen Ortega, she's kind of has said she loves doing sort of like horror themed sci-fi movies. It seems right in her wheelhouse. So I think it is. I think it is. I don't know what else it would be, if they're calling it like a super secret untitled project. Like you said, I feel like they've done this with all the other Cloverfield sort of movies. So yeah, I think it most likely is going to be that. If not, it will be like something that will blow our minds, like a Nightmare on Elm Street or something like that, right? Like it could be like a Nightmare on Elm Street reboot. Yeah, like it could be something along those lines too. But it'll be something big. I think it has to. Like I don't. It's not going to be like. It's going to be some sort of franchise movie. It's not going to be like something original. You know what I mean? So it's going to be something that will bring the masses to the theater. So we'll see about that. All right, just a couple more stories to get through tonight. A big one, actually, that just came out recently, actually, I think just yesterday, is that we are going to be getting not 1, but 2 Halloween video games. They are going to be made from the company that did Evil Dead, the game, Boss Team Games. They're currently in the process of developing both Halloween games. John Carpenter is said to actually be involved in the process. He went on, he actually was quoted as a huge gamer myself. I'm thrilled to help bring Michael Myers to life again in this game. And my hope is to scare you silly, said John Carpenter. A few other details that were revealed. The Halloween video game will allow players to relive moments from the film and play as classic characters from one of the most iconic and important horror films of all time, of course. 2 new games currently, of course, being developed with Compass International Pictures and Further Front. And then the company developing, Boss Team Games, Went on to say, everyone at Boston Games are huge fans of horror, and Halloween obviously holds a special place in the hearts of all horror fans. Getting to work with iconic characters like Michael Myers and build on John Carpenter's original vision is literally a dream come true. So, Steve, I ask you, because you're the big gamer, I don't know much about, Evil Dead, the game and stuff like that. Is this going to be different than sort of all the other sort of horror themed games we've gotten recently, or is it going to be sort of the same sort of rehash?
So it's a two-prong answer because there are two games involved in this story. So the first game we don't know about at time of recording anyway, and that's the one being made by Boss Key, who made Evil Dead. Evil Dead is the same shit that they've been doing with every horror franchise: Killer Clowns, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th. It's a PvP 2 versus 3, 4 versus 1, whatever they decide to go with game. It seems like they're leaning that way again, just by the description. So
can I ask why? Why
who the
do
fuck
they
knows?
why do they keep doing this? Why can't we get like a legit storyline
Yeah.
themed horror game? Is it just like, I'm assuming it's way cheaper, right, to make how they make like
It's
these
the pro-
other ones?
it's a money thing, because
Yeah.
if you make a story-driven game, people will they'll buy it, they'll play it, they'll put it away, right? Generally. Whereas when you do these types of games, you're releasing new maps, you're releasing new characters, you're releasing new skins, you're releasing new modes. People are constantly going back to the game, paying DLC, paying this, paying that. Essentially, that's what is going to make the studio money. So that's why people are leaning towards those games for these horror franchises, I think. So I'm disappointed if that is the case, but hopefully maybe we'll get at least a single player mode involved with this as well. As far as the other game, thankfully we recorded a day late this week because they actually announced the other game. It's a 8-bit platformer of Halloween, which they're also making in Ash vs. Evil Dead at the same time. It's two separate games, both platformers. They look bloody as hell. They look awesome. And if you own both, you can actually use the character from the other game into the game. So Michael Myers can go into the Ash vs. Evil Dead game, and Ash can go into the Halloween game. And those are coming out on PC and console October 18th this year. And there's a trailer out already, and honestly, it looks fucking awesome. So I'm excited about that one, and we'll see about the other one. But I have a feeling it's just going to be another PvP game.
Yeah, agreed, unfortunately. But I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for I'm not a fan of those PvP games. Like, I haven't even tried Killer Clowns yet, just because I played like Texas Chainsaw and I got bored pretty quickly. I'm more of one, I like to just be alone and just play my games by myself. So
yeah,
but,
they're fun with friends if you can get a full group. But other than that, I don't play them either. It's just it's boring to me too.
All right. So next bit of news here, calling out all of you big horror book collectors out there. This is a nice treat for those of you who are fans of Ty West's, of course, X trilogy. We are going to be getting 3 novelizations. 3 novels are coming that are we're gonna get novelizations of all 3 films. So X will be published on September 24th, 2024. Pearl will follow on November 19th, 2024, and Maxine currently set for release in early 2025. Definitely something to add to the collection if you are fans, and would be cool if you are a big fan. It'd be cool to read. I'm sure there'd be a lot more in those novelizations maybe that did not make the final cut of the movies. I wish more current movies would do novelizations. It's definitely not something you see very often. The cover art on these novels are very awesome as well. So yeah, go and check those out. I think someone posted it in the Discord. Might have even been you, Steve.
It was
that
me,
posted that posted a link. So if you're a member of our Discord, you can go to the Horror News channel, click on it, and it will give you a link to probably pre-order those books anyway. So check it out. All right. Just 2 more quick stories here. The Babadook is going to be returning to theaters for its 10th anniversary. I was personally a fan of the Babadook. I know it's kind of a love or hate movie, but if you would like to go and celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Babadook and see it on the big screen, September 19th, it is going to be playing in theaters nationwide as a special release. And then finally, I will wrap it up tonight with the news that Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead universe is dead, essentially. Yeah, so it has come out that Netflix does not plan to go forward making any of the potential movies. There was also talk about an animated series that was going to come out based off this as well. But as of now, all projects regarding Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead universe have been canceled at Netflix. Do you think they'll find another home, Steve, or do you think this is the death for Zack Snyder's Dead universe?
Yeah, it's definitely dead Netflix. I think Rebel Moon, his other series, didn't do as well, and they just don't want to give him money anymore. Maybe someone will pick up the franchise, but I think the further you get away from it, the less people care about it, and it's losing its shine, as time goes on. So I'm not really confident anyone is going to pick this up. It's possible. I don't think so, but I do urge people to check out Army of Thieves, which was the spin-off of Army of the Dead. Was actually pretty good. I really like that dude as Dieter, so I'd watch that one if you're longing for more Army of the Dead. I like the movie. I'm not crying about its demise though. It's just like, we got the movie. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Like, I thought the first movie, it was okay. It didn't like blow me away or anything like that. I actually didn't see Army of Thieves. Was it a zombie movie or was it just sort of?
No, it's basically setting up how Dieter, which is the guy who cracked safe,
Right.
kind of got involved with the people that eventually got into Army of the Dead. And it's funny because the zombie apocalypse is starting to happen as the events of Army of Thieves unfolds, but it's more of like an Ocean's 11 type movie than it is a horror movie. It's just kind of like he's watching TV and he's watching news broadcasts of the US like falling to a zombie apocalypse because he's in Germany. So yeah.
Cool.
It's not a horror film. That's what I'm getting at.
All right. Gotcha. Alrighty. Oh, actually, I lied. I do have one more because I feel like this is kind of important. File this one under. I don't think anyone really asked for it, but it's coming. Crawl 2 has officially been greenlit, and director Alexander Aja will be returning to direct the sequel. Yeah, whatever. Like I wasn't even really a big fan of the original Crawl. I know it did pretty well in theaters, but I mean, we're talking like 5 years later. The movie was released in 2019.
Yeah.
And like by the time I actually film it and it comes out, like, was anyone asking for this? I don't know, but it's coming. And I think Sam Raimi produced the original. I don't know if he's going to be back to produce this one. Okay, yeah, he is actually reading the story. Yeah, so Sam Raimi and Aja will both be back to produce this one. I mean, do you remember Crawl, Steve? Were you a fan?
I remember it only because it's after reviewing Crawl with you guys
Okay.
that you guys asked me to be a permanent member of the podcast.
Well, there you go.
Right after recording the Crawl episode. So it's like got a special place in my heart just for that. The movie was fine. It was fine,
Right. Yeah, I remember seeing it in theaters and I was just like, whatever. But whatever. Will I watch the second one? Probably, but I don't think I'm going to be rushing out to see it in theaters or anything. That would be definitely a VOD or Netflix once it hits type that release. But you never know. Could be great. We shall see. All right. I'll leave it at that then for tonight. That was your horror news for this week. Thank you. All righty, Steve. No Todd this week, so we're gonna have to skip trivia, unfortunately. Sorry, everybody. But we will do what watched before we head into our review with Todd, the power of editing magic.
Yep.
But Steve, what you been watching this week?
So we're gonna push back our 1960s episode slightly, a couple weeks, just because scheduling didn't end up working. So you have a few more weeks to send in your lists, but we are getting to that time. It is in early September, so please, if you have a top 10 1960s list, please send it to us. It would help that episode a lot. We love to do those top of the decade episodes.
Yes.
And speaking of which,
we only have 2 lists right now, guys. So we need. I haven't put out a call to arms yet or anything, but.
And I think people are waiting till closer to the date because they want to cram like I am.
I hear you. I'd like to get at least. I know 60s is tough.
Right.
And I know we're not going to, like, we have consistently hit our like at least one or two more lists on every single best of the decade. I know we probably won't get to our this on this one, but if we can at least get, I'm aiming for 20. If we can get 20 lists in, I'll be very happy. So a call to arms, please submit your 60s list. There's actually probably more 60s movies than you think you've seen if you do a quick little Google search. So check them out.
Yeah, but I'm sure a lot of people are cramming the 60s, as I am, which leads me to my first watch of the week. It's a movie that I watched over on Tubi, and that is 1960s. It just made the cut. Peeping Tom. So, Peeping Tom is a story of a guy who he's like attached to his video camera. He brings it everywhere he goes, and he's constantly filming everything in the hopes of doing a documentary about what? You'll find out. And what he also does is kill people, and then he films it. He also works on a movie set, and it's this whole thing where he's killing people on screen. People don't know that he's the one killing him, but he's editing this footage constantly. He's got, like a ton of reels in his apartment, and yeah, he's an interesting guy. Meanwhile, he's also subletting his house to other people because his family had passed away, and he meets a girl in the house who starts to get an interest in him, and they start going out, and then she starts getting interested in the movies he's making, and we find out more about his character and things like that. But she starts getting closer to his truth that he is doing things that he shouldn't be doing. So that's kind of the gist of Peeping Tom. I heard a lot of stuff about this movie, which is why I wanted to check it out before providing my 60s list. The film is incredibly well shot. It's in color, which is nice for 1960. There's not a ton of them that are in color at that time. It's got an interesting story, which I was into, and the performances, particularly from the lead, fantastic. Like the lead is very, very good in this. Uh, like I feel that with the story, the lead, the way they shot everything on paper, this should be a masterpiece, and I'm sure some people think of it that way. But for me personally, I thought it was A, too long, and B, a little boring at times. Like there's a lot of periods where not a whole lot is going on. There aren't as many kills as I would have expected, so that was a bit of a disappointment. Now I get it, 1960s, it's not the same thing as movies that are released today, but still I expected a few more kills to kind of really hammer home the fact that he's a killer, because you kind of forget for a while, because he's such a kind of a nice character, that he's actually a monster kind of behind the lens. And I also feel like there were some things that they should have expanded on a little bit more throughout the story. But still, I'm super happy I finally got to watch it. I think it's worth watching because I think some people will really enjoy it. I just expected a little bit more out of it. So I gave Peeping Tom 3 stars out of 5 over on Letterboxd. So if you want to check it out, 1960, it's on Tubi.
Alrighty, excellent. Have you checked out whatever happened to Baby Jane yet?
It's on my list for this week.
Right. Yeah. And I would also recommend Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte as well.
I'll put that on my list.
Yeah. All right. My first one tonight is actually a horror short that I would like to give a shout out to. It was done by our friend Alex DiVincenzo, also known as Broke Horror Fan. I watched it recently as sort of a prep for our secret project. I just kind of wanted to look and see what was going on with that. And you could probably maybe guess a little what some of this secret project might entail based off that. But anyway, Reverberance is actually a ASMR horror short. That's what he is calling it. It is very short. It's only about 3 or 4 minutes long. So it's a nice quick watch. You can watch it over on YouTube. But yeah, it's really interesting. There's no dialogue whatsoever. It is about we sort of follow this woman in her backyard. She hears a noise and she encounters, I guess I would call it sort of like this alien like creature. It's not, man, it's done so well though. It's shot so good, and the character is very creepy. The alien like character, very creepy. But the fact that like he went with like no dialogue and he just used sounds, I thought it was very effective, and it's very good, and it's very creepy. And it worked really well. So shout out to Alex. He's done quite a few horror shorts. You can definitely check him out over on YouTube. Broke Horror Fan. I don't know if he posts his shorts on Bro Carfin or he might post them on his just normal channel, Alex DiVincenzo. But if you can't find him, you can look for him on our Discord. I'll post at least this one after on our as discussed on the podcast once this episode releases. But definitely check it out. Show indie horror some support. And also he did a fake trailer as well that actually was at Texas Framer Weekend that got to air on that. So I got to watch that too. And he recently won an award for one of his other shorts. So shout out to Alex.
Yeah, Alex is a great dude. So glad to see that he's doing some awesome stuff. So my other one this week is a movie I watched over on Shudder from 1978, and it is Faces of Death. So this is something I feel young Joe would have watched when he was in his little gore club there in high school. So I'm interested to hear his thoughts right after of what he remembers of it. So for myself, I had seen clips of Faces of Death. I don't know if I actually ever sat down and watched it. This is around the time that like Rotten.com and Consumption Junction were like a thing online, and you're just watching all the sick shit you can, kind of late 90s, early 2000s type of thing. And so this one is infamous in the horror world because people believe that everything in the film is real. It's actually real footage, real kills, real animal deaths, real everything. Turns out it's actually 60% real and 40% fake. So I knew that going in, and I revisited it kind of having that in the back of my mind. And I have to say, having rewatched it, which is just a collection of basically death videos, it does have like an order to it, and there's a little bit of a point to it, which I'll get to at the end of the review. But it is a collection of just horrific shit that they're showing on screen. And I think it's obvious, me personally, what's real and what's fake, just by the way, if the camera looks like it shouldn't be there, basically it's fake. Like if it's too well shot and like there's different angles of the thing, then you have a pretty good idea that that's probably not a real thing. Whereas when it's like news footage or it's like a handheld somewhere, like you would see kind of a phone today, then that is probably more real. The more of the 60% real. So I went in just expecting like gross shit, and it does have a lot of that. Now, this might say something about me. I don't know if it's a good thing, but the first half hour is a lot of like animal stuff, and the other hour is human stuff. The animal stuff really bothers me. I really don't like to see any type of animal cruelty. And the human stuff was just like, I mean, it's gross, but it didn't affect me all that much. It's nothing I haven't seen before online. I will say that I thought by memory that this is a very gratuitous film. It's just like taking sick shit and putting it in a collection and showing it to people. But having now rewatched it, it's actually not that at all. The point of the film is to show you the worst of humanity so you can think twice about doing certain things, or think twice of things that you're doing, so that you don't become victims to the system. And I thought that was really interesting. Like I didn't expect it to have such a kind of positive message in such a gross presentation. So I wouldn't recommend that you watch it, because it is a very specific type of person that would watch shit like this. But it also like was better, I guess, than I expected. Still, it's not something I'd like pop in again at this point. I've gotten my fill of it. So I gave it 2 out of 5 stars, just because it is also long and there's drawn out scenes and stuff like that. And I really don't like the animal death. So that's something that I couldn't get into. So Face of Death, if you are interested, they just dropped it on Shudder this month. So you can check it out.
Yeah, no, I definitely remember watching these growing up, renting it from the video store, the local video store, because the cover was pretty memorable. Yeah, I agree. Like, I think when you're a kid, like, you're more probably jaded to thinking everything's sort of real. But, like, watching them as an adult, you can definitely tell. Because I rewatched it probably like a decade ago when I was a little older. And you can definitely tell, like, okay, this shit is definitely like staged and fake for the most part. Although I do think some of the animal deaths were real,
Yeah,
like
a
Cannibal
lot of them are
Holocaust.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like everything else, yeah, you can tell like they just filmed this, very like people. I mean, people still fall for shit all the time. Like even in today's day and age, the shit people fall for that they think is real blows my mind sometimes. Like all the fake horror movie posters that
Oh
like
my god, it drives
come
me
out.
fucking nuts,
Like
dude.
I'm like, what is wrong with? How do you people not realize that? Like it looks so fucking fake. Like like do you really think DJ Qualls is gonna be playing
Oh my
Freddy
god, I see that one
in a
all the
movie?
time. That one in
Yeah.
particular, it seems to get
That
a
one
lot
in
of traction. Eh?
that one in particular, and also I see like Hocus Pocus 3 a lot with
Mm,
like the three young girls and like a prequel thing, and it looks just so bad. Like you can
yeah.
tell it's either AI generated or just fan made. It's like, man, people are so damn gullible.
Mhm.
But I digress. Yeah, Face of Death, I remember like I remember them not being good, you know what I mean? Even as a kid, like, it was just sort of shock value for shock value shit. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of them too, right? I mean, they made quite
Like
a
six
bit.
or seven, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see what they're gonna do with the new one. Like they're making, right? They're
Yeah,
making like a
that's weird.
Hollywood version
I
of
just
it.
don't believe it's gonna be like 95% fake. And
I think they're gonna do it like sort of like along the lines of it's gonna be like very like scripted, where it's gonna be like the kids find like young kids or like
mm,
teenage kids find like a tape, and like they watch it, and it'd be like The Ring or something like that, where it's
right.
like a cursed Faces of Death tape with all this shocking shit on it. But it's cool. I mean, it's kind of cool. It's getting in some ways that it's getting like a rebirth. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, overall. I haven't watched it. God, I'm trying to in my probably my early 20s was the last time I watched a Face of the Death movie. But yeah,
I'm
I
actually
think
kind of shocked Shudder, like of all streaming platforms, would add it to their rotation. Like I would expect it out of like Tubi because it's
yeah,
like kind of a more indie, like underground thing. But Shudder, like I was a little surprised that they added it, and that's kind of why I watched it. I don't think I would
yeah.
have like I wouldn't seek out this movie. It was in my list. I'm like, you know what? I'm curious enough. So
Do they only have like the original on
right
there, or
now
do they
it's only
have
the first
right now
one.
just the original? Yeah. Did the original have the monkey stuff in it?
It
Not to
did,
get too
which is
graphic.
fake.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Thank
Yeah.
God.
I do
Yeah.
remember that. That is one thing in particular I do remember. And then I remember I specifically, and this no trigger warning here. You don't have to skip ahead if you're not into like animal cruelty, but I don't think anyone's into animal cruelty, but you know
I
what I
hope
mean.
not. Yeah.
I remember specifically one with a magician where like it's like a magic trick that like goes wrong and like the
Mm.
spikes like come down and land on someone's face.
Well, it wasn't this one.
And it was so fake, obviously,
Right.
but it's interesting. Yeah. It's kind of cool, I guess, in some ways that they like staged just like fake sort of deaths and stuff. Like it's
Right.
probably fun to film, right? Like in
Actually,
in some aspects.
well, one interesting tidbit of the movie, and I don't want to get too much into Face of Death, but
Yeah.
is they were filming one of their fake skits for the movie, and they got wind that they found a body at a beach right next to the studio where they were filming their skit, and they ran out with the cameras and filmed them dragging out that body, and that's in the film. So it's actually their cameras capturing a real body, and it's when you'll see it. It's like a surfer gets pulled out and he's like
Uh,
dead and stuff. It's pretty gruesome.
all right. All right. My last one tonight is a 2024 release, and it is Steve's favorite, a Tubi original.
Yes.
The movie is called Lowlifes. I had seen a lot of people talking about it, and I was intrigued. I'm like, okay, I had nothing to watch, and I was like, I guess I'll check this one out. I did not have much as far as expectations goes for this being a Tubi original, because I don't think I've ever seen anything good come out of Tubi original wise. But yeah, so this one is about you haven't seen this one yet, Steve, right?
No,
Okay.
I've been really focusing on the 60s lately.
All
I'm
right,
saving
yeah.
2024 for after the 60s, but yeah, it's
Okay.
on my list.
Yeah, so this one is about a family. They are in an RV. They're sort of like camping, in their RV out in sort of the woods somewhere, where these like two sort of redneck style characters, show up. They seem, somewhat threatening right off the bat. The family's kind of like, oh, can we help you with anything, sort of thing, the father trying to sort of rush them away or whatever like that. He eventually sort of gets them away. The family, in sort of a panic and nervous after that, gets in their RV, they start driving down the road, and of course they encounter these sort of rednecks again, and this sort of sets off the rest of the movie with the family ending up yeah, well, I will say their car breaks down essentially. Like the redneck's car breaks down. They're like, "Can you give us a ride to our house?" And they end up at the house, and from there, some stuff happens. And I'll leave it at that because I don't want to spoil anything. This movie was actually pretty good. It was a nice surprise. You think it's going to be the typical, sort of Texas Chainsaw Massacre Wrong Turn-esque thing, but honestly, there's a solid twist in here that I think kind of breathes some originality in sort of this basic plot that we've seen a million times with a family sort of lost in the backwoods of rural America. But yeah, this they take that formula and they definitely inject a nice fresh take on it. The kills are really solid in this one. And I would say it's above average, especially and for a Tubi movie, it's fantastic. For a Tubi, it's great. So I give it a 3.5 out of 5. I think it's really solid. Will it make my top 10 or anything like that? No, but I could see it actually making some people's top 10 because I think there's actually a lot of fun to be had here. I think it's a great, honestly, like movie club movie too, Steve. Like after you watch it, I think this is one that I think would be a great one to watch with a crowd. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. So that's Low Lifes. You can watch for free over on Tubi.
So let me guess the plot.
Okay.
It's basically Wrong Turn where their car breaks down and they meet another group, but they're the crazy ones in the car, not the kid.
You're just gonna have to wait and see, Steve.
That's my prediction.
You're just gonna have to wait and see.
I will.
But it's good, and the lead actress in it, kudos to her. Amanda Fix is her name. She was great in it. Doesn't look like she's done much else, but she was really good in it, and I think she definitely carries the movie. Overall, though, pretty solid acted all around. I mean, it's definitely a little rough around the edges here and there, but I think it's a fun one overall, and I think you'll definitely enjoy it, Steve.
Nice. Yeah, it's on my list.
Right. Sweet. Alrighty. I think that's it then.
That's it.
For What Watched. Alrighty, gentlemen, let's get into it then. Our main event of the evening, 2001's The Others, directed by Alejandro Amenabar, starring a whole bunch of random people, but the most important one is Nicole Kidman, because no one else you would know. So we'll leave it at that. Plot. In 1945, immediately following the end of Second World War, a woman who lives with her 2 children on her darkened old... Oh, sorry. Let me redo that. Plot. In 1945, immediately following the end of Second World War, a woman who lives with her 2 photosensitive children on her darkened old family estate in the Channel Islands becomes convinced that the home is haunted. Spooky.
Oh, is it?
Todd,
Yes,
can you make it a little spookier with your plot synopsis?
I can. If you guys are wondering, where did Todd come from? That's editing, people. Had a hard stop, and we had to record this earlier. Anyway, so we meet Nicole Kidman, who's a freaking babe. Guys, are we together on this? She's a freaking babe in this one. She wakes up screaming out of a bad dream. What's wrong with her? What's going on? I don't know. We see her big ass mansion. It's already creepy because it's so freaking dark. It's the middle of nowhere, surrounded by fog. She opens the door and there's like these 2 older people and like a younger lady who are just like randomly at the door. She's like, "Oh, you guys the fucking housekeepers that answered my wanted ad?" And you're like, "Yeah, we are." And then they like kind of like, "Hey, sure." They come on in. She immediately makes a joke about the girl not talking. She's like, "Hey, cat got your tongue?" She's like, "Actually, she's mute. She can't talk." And she's like, "Oh, my bad." So like she's giving her a tour, right? Like, "Hey, the last housekeepers, they just like abruptly left, dude. They didn't even give me any notice or anything like that. You guys better be honest workers." And like, "Yeah, we're honest, we're cool, we're hardworking, let's do it." She takes them around the campus, the house, and she's like got these funky rules, like every time you go in a door, you cannot open another one until you close that door you came through and lock that fucking thing. And we're gonna go meet my kids who live in the dark because they're allergic to sunlight. Thus, the strange anti-door slash anti-sunlight. You got to close all the curtains and shit like that. But why are the curtains sometimes opening and closing by themselves? Why are some of the doors that are, allegedly locked, why are they found open? Is it the housekeepers fucking up? Is it Nicole Kidman not doing the right thing? Is it a kid perhaps messing with the doors? I don't know. We'll find out. We also learned pretty early on that Nicole Kidman did send a letter to the wanted ad, but it never made it out of the mailbox. So how did these people answer the wanted ad and just, oh, their reasoning is that we showed up randomly and it worked out, so we're going to be the workers. She's like, all right, cool, kind of weird, but whatever. Her the husband, he's been off at war on the front fighting in France. The war's over now, and they're like, he's missing in action and presumed dead, but she doesn't want to accept it. Is the house haunted? Who's Victor that the daughter is talking to? The little boy is scared. The little girl picks on him. Nicole Kidman yells at everybody. Who's haunted? What's haunted? House is haunted. Who knows? Watched this one years and years ago, probably around when it came out on tape, I believe, and really liked it, man. And unfortunately, I think this is one of those movies where that original impact of when you figure out what is going on cannot be replicated, because it's a fucking really cool reveal. There you go. But it's hard to like capture that. Same thing with Saw 1. We all know Jigsaw gets up at the end. We know it's going to happen. Is it still cool? Sure. Oh shit, spoiler. Oh, is it cool? Yeah, but it does have the same impact as it did originally seeing it? No. I think it's well acted. It's gothic. It looks really cool. The lighting's effective. I just thought there should have been more scares personally, but overall, I still think it's a pretty good movie.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same sort of in a very similar boat to you, Todd. I remember watching this when it first came out, like back in 2001, right when it hit like VHS, DVD. What was going on back then in 2001? Were we in
Both.
the DVD?
DVD.
craze
I
back
was
then?
into DVD in college. So
All right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I was a freshman in high school, so I definitely remember watching this at home for the first time. I think it was a rainy day, so definitely added to the atmosphere. And yeah, I remember the ending like blowing my mind, which obviously we'll get into a little later. And I remember like loving it, and I remember loving it like throughout my life. I hadn't watched it in a long time. I do agree. I think once you know the twist, I think that's with any movie that has like a massive twist that isn't revealed until the end. It's tough to like some movies. It's great because you can go back and like try to find little Easter eggs throughout and stuff like that. Whereas this one on this watch, I found it to be a lot slower than I remembered. I think it was like you remember like the beats of the movie when you haven't seen it in a while, but then going back and rewatching it, I just felt it. Yeah, I mean, I think it could have used a couple more scares, like Todd said. I still think it's a very good movie. Don't get me wrong, but I found myself finding the middle of the movie very dull at times, and I think it could have used another scare here and there. I think it still does a good, even knowing the twist this time, I think it still does a pretty solid job of masking where they're gonna go. I mean, they definitely drop the hints and stuff like that, but if you don't know where it's gonna go, I think it does a pretty good job of. I don't think you ever really see the end coming, which I think is a testament to great writing, and great acting by Nicole Kidman, who obviously carries this movie, for the most part, as she's in pretty much 100% of the scenes. But yeah, overall, solid movie. But I think on a rewatch, it was a little slower than I remembered.
Yeah, so I picked it. I saw it in theaters in 2001, loved it, and watched it a few times since, loved it. And it has been probably a decade since I've seen it, which is why I picked it, because I want to do a ghost film. It's been a little while, and this is one of my favorite ones. I think I even put it in my top 10 of that decade when we did that episode. But unfortunately, I'm kind of with you guys on this one. You know, watching it now, I guess more with a critical eye to review it, made me notice some things, and I'm gonna use Sixth Sense as a good like parallel between this film. When I rewatch Sixth Sense, which I did many times, it's cool because you watch kind of like how the twist is shown beforehand, and it's really like solid how they kind of did all the different things to make the twist like really fit into the story. Whereas this one, I feel that the twist falls apart a little bit as you're watching these characters go through their daily living. In The Sixth Sense, I found it was almost like perfect, where you couldn't really find major flaws that support the twist. Whereas this one, it's like, I don't know. There are some things that bother me, and I'll definitely mention some of them. I still think it's a solid film. Atmospheric, like very well shot, and because of the way that she has to close the curtains all the time and use kind of candles and things like that, gas lights, it gives the film like a certain look, which is really cool. And I do remember absolutely loving the twist the first time I saw it. There are kind of two twists in it. At first it's with the servants, and then it's with the family themselves. But I also agree with Todd with the scares. There aren't that many scares in it, and I remember there being more scares than they show. But yeah, it unfortunately falls apart in the details for me. Maybe you guys will have better explanations that I can think of. But yeah, I was a little disappointed on this watch.
Yeah, I was looking for that stuff. The hidden shit that would lead to the twist, and it's not really that clever or out there enough. You think I would have loved to see when they revealed the gravestones, that being the families. I think that would have been cooler than the servants, because it just would have had a bigger impact.
Yeah, agreed.
And that was like a major missed opportunity in my opinion. Like, imagine the kids seeing their headstones opposed to these fucking servants. Like, I don't know, because the servants were never scary. Like, I can see if they were like menacing or like almost borderline evil, but they didn't really play them that way, so it didn't really have as big as impact as I would have hoped to reveal that they were dead as well, and that they've been living in the house, and now they're kind of facilitating the family's, I guess, transition, you can say, to being dead.
That's my question. Why like ease them like into it? Like
Just tell
I
'em.
don't like. Why not just tell them like right off the bat instead
Hey,
of
you're
playing
dead.
this? It's
Yeah,
like
day
playing this
one,
like
I'd be like,
long con. Like it's just bizarre to me.
yeah, day one, I'd be like, get your own fucking sandwich. You're dead.
Right, yeah.
I'm not doing this shit.
It's like, oh,
no
yeah,
more.
You're
we're
gonna
gonna be-
fucking yell at me, bitch.
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause it's assumed what they're probably doing this over what? Like it feels like a week or two, right?
Yeah.
And like like why fucking be servants for the week? And
What's the point?
yeah, what's the point if you just show them like I don't know. That part like on this watch, I'm like, okay, why even do like play this sort of long con game, which I find to be bizarre.
Have they done it before though, and maybe they've realized?
But wouldn't there be more people living in this house other than them, or is it just people that die in the house? But like she found those photographs, right, that had like 1 million photos of other dead people.
Creepy.
Are those also people that died in the house, or is it just sort of post-mortem photos of in general?
That could just be family, like a family album. So it's
Have
not
you looked through it?
necessarily in that house. Now, I think also, which another thing that kind of falls apart for me in the story is this is kind of limbo, right? Or like some kind of purgatory. It's not like heaven or hell. And I think the reason, the husband comes back to say bye is he's essentially going somewhere else. Like he's going to heaven or whatever, and they're stuck there, right? Which
No, he's going back to the front. He said.
yeah, he says that.
I
but
think
I
he's
don't,
stuck in.
He's dead too, right? So
He's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He says
I
he
mean,
bleeds sometimes. I think he was having a harder time than.
yeah.
well, he clearly has like severe like PTSD from the war, which is why he's
Right.
kind of like stuck in the bed. Like, does he know he's dead? Like,
I think he does because he
He
says
must,
he
right?
bleeds.
They tell him.
he comes back. Who tells him?
The servants tell him.
Oh, do the servants tell him?
On
I don't
screen?
remember that.
But he explains it in bed.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like they told me the truth. They told me what happened.
Oh,
I see.
okay. Yeah, so
So
why
he's-
would they tell him?
So he's going back to war though. That sucks. He can't just hang out.
I don't
It's
know
fucked
where
up.
he's going. Like, I feel like that wasn't like.
He said he's going back to the front. Like,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it like there's no front. Like the war's over, man. Like where are they
well,
gonna?
not for him.
is
He's
there, like, a
fucking.
purgatory?
Is he
Go
on
fight.
a purgatory
fight.
vacation?
No, he's gonna go
Yeah.
fight German ghosts, dude. Fucking.
Yeah, I feel like that whole part could have been cut. Honestly, like I don't think the husband ever needed to be
You know what?
reintroduced into the
I
story.
think he should have gone to the house and actually lived in the house, like be a human in the house,
Mm.
and he feels their presence and have
That would-
kind of
yeah.
a Sixth Sense situation
been
where
cool.
he never actually interacts with them. Like she's constantly telling him to come downstairs because there's food, but he's even when they're facing each other, he's not actually.
Like the Sixth Sense kind of thing.
Yeah, that's why I
I
think
like
they
it.
should have gone with it. Is just like he just came and went and just couldn't stay
Yeah.
there because of it's a fucking tragedy what happened in that
Yeah.
house. that we come to find out, which is a whole other thing I'm going to get into later. So yeah, I think his role is kind of squandered a little bit in that regard.
Get into it.
Oh, I'm getting into it. Yeah. So, okay, I have a lot of issues, but my first issue is so we're just gonna spoil it because you have to talk about the end. I think to talk about kind of what's going on in the film is it turns out that the servants are ghosts who died a while ago, and also the family are ghosts who are haunting the actual family who's living there in the present. So the house is haunted, but they're the people that are haunting it, not the people they think
Which
are
is
haunting
super
it.
fucking cool.
Which is yeah, an absolutely great twist. But my problem is, so sometimes in the film they do things, like the kind of classic haunting things. They constantly push the curtains back open or close when they're not supposed to. They bang doors and stuff like that. But other times they're just like having fucking tea and like eating and stuff like that. Like our teacups like rising from the table are like they're doing too many activities, I think, as ghosts that they shouldn't do. Like, is only some of the stuff count? Do some of the things not count? Like, I
was
wish
thinking-
they had like not touched anything unless they're like angry, and that's when the actual like activity would happen. So it's kind of weird in that regard for me.
I feel like that's like the norm for like any haunted house movie, right? Like you don't see everything like the ghosts are doing in the house. It's only like important moments, you know what I mean? So like that's just kind of how I took it. I feel like there are certain moments where maybe I don't know, like the activity the ghosts is like bringing out like makes it so you can see it in the physical world, and other times it's just like you're just like living in the house normally, sort of like almost like a Beetlejuice scenario where they're sort of just like living there, but they're not like constantly making noises or like haunting the house, so I just think it's certain important moments, I guess, like if they're walking, like I think the noise isn't going to be loud enough to be heard, but like if someone's running across like a room or something like we hear in the movie, then maybe you'll hear it.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think they're actually like pouring milk into the tea because there's probably no tea and it's just probably in their minds.
Faux
Ghost
drinking.
minds.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
apparently I read online that in the theatrical cut they don't actually consume anything. Like it's there, but they don't consume it. But in the home video cut, for some reason, we do see them consume a couple times.
See, that would have been a cool tell
Yeah,
to
exactly.
to catch later. Yeah, but interesting.
Yeah.
So at least the dad gets to come back and get laid one more time before going off to fight German ghosts again. And how did she snapped and killed him because she found out he died, right?
Yeah, I mean that's right. That's like the thing I always wondered. It's like what caused her to snap and kill the children. I assume that was part of it. I think him dying in the war probably set her off on a deep depression, and then I would think maybe the stress. The kids were kind of little shits too, like throughout the movie. So I think like the stress of that and just the kids being, I think she was just overwhelmed, and she had like just a break.
So, were the kids actually sick, or was this like a kind of Munchausen type of situation where she was overprotecting them of things that didn't actually need protection? Like,
well, she did say the doctors. She did reference doctors saying that they couldn't find a cure for
Yeah,
them.
but anyone who does Munchausen's by proxy is the same way. They'll take their kids to doctors and shit like that and make shit up. I didn't even think of that, Steve, but it is a good point because she could have diagnosed it like while she was going through her manic episodes. You know what I mean? I don't know. I've never heard of like this photosensitivity thing. I'm sure it is a thing. Like
it's a thing, yeah.
Like powder,
right?
Per se.
Well, we watched that Devil movie where he couldn't get in the sun without bursting into flames. Remember?
That's yeah.
Every vampire.
So there you go.
Yeah, but yeah, like the more I think of it, yeah, I don't think it was real. I think it was probably her paranoia.
Yeah, I can go either way. Ultimately, does it affect the story? I don't really think so.
No, I mean, I think it adds like tension, right? Like when it obviously adds to the atmosphere, having the blinds closed, making the house dark. at times and stuff like that. And then obviously, I think he wrote it a lot for like the curtains disappearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a cool
because
scene
that was a big.
where
It
she's
was a good
panicking.
scene,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it was. So I
It
think
was also locking the doors and everything. Like she was way too
Yeah.
overprotective. I think it was deeper than them just having this disease. to me.
sure.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Mhm. But by that token, how fucked up is it that the victims are stuck in the same fucking purgatory as the killer, right? So
Seriously.
that's a weird. Is this just her? No? It can't even be her
The
own.
kids should be in heaven.
Yeah,
that's-
the
yeah,
the
that-
kids didn't do anything
that's-
wrong.
That's why I think I agree, and I think that's a huge like plot hole to this movie. Like, why would the kids be stuck with the mother that killed them? That
Well-
doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't, but maybe the kids don't exist and they've moved on. They're with their dad, and this is just her purgatory because she fucking killed her own kids. She lost her husband, which isn't her fault, but now she has to relive this life where she has to deal like, yeah, I fucking smothered my kids to death and my husband's fucking dead. That's her hell / purgatory, and the kids and husband are just not even there. They don't exist.
But what's the servant's purpose then? It's
Right. I can't go with that because and also like she's interacting with the kid Victor in the house, and she
Well, the-
possesses
oh,
that.
you're right. The daughter
blind-
is
and
yeah,
she
yeah, yeah.
and she possesses the blind lady. At
Wait, how
one
did she
point.
possess the blind lady? That makes zero sense to me.
It's a good
Uh,
point, and it's like, wouldn't she know at that point? Like, did the kids know they're dead? Because they constantly are saying like, "Mommy went mad," and she does tell like her what happened. So like, you would think the kids would know. Like, if she's telling her mom smothered me with a pillow, like,
Not
do
until
they-
the end, though.
right? But like, wouldn't she know at that? Like, if she's telling the lady that my mom smothered me with a pillow, but do they think, oh, she smothered me with a pillow for a second and I didn't die? You know, because it is a bit confusing.
Hmm. Yeah, but she doesn't reveal that to the end, right? She doesn't tell that to the housekeeper early on.
She tells it to the psychic at the end, the little girl.
Right.
Yeah.
So the psychic kind of like uses, you know how like in traditional movies like that, they'll have like the ghost temporarily take the psychic's mind, right?
Yeah.
So that's what happened. That's
I
what
think that's what
but
happened.
then how
to me
did why
personally.
would it be the little girl? She's not,
She's the one she made contact with.
but she doesn't
Yeah.
know she's dead at that point. Or
Yeah,
does
but
does she just learn it right in that scene?
That
the
that
first
could
time?
be right. Like if she took possession of the ghost and kind of went into the ghost's mind, she kind of like
Hmm.
helped her along because they would have the psychic would have known, or the medium would have known what happened, right? They probably know the tragedy
True.
that befell that story, so maybe she
Mhm.
kind of helped her along.
Well,
But
they don't
But then
know,
the kids
though.
are they're still too lovey with their mother. You know, if they do know that and were killed by her, they'd be more scared of her, you'd think.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's also theory like most ghosts don't know they're dead, right? So like if this little girl, well, wouldn't you be terrified if you saw like this fucking old lady with fucking no eyes,
Oh, yeah.
like just like in your house, like
That was-
you'd run away from
Yeah.
her.
The
like,
drawing was freaking cool. She
terrified.
did.
Yeah, that was
Yeah, it was really
the
cool.
scariest part of the movie.
But
I mean,
the
No, go ahead.
homeowners don't know the history because when Nicole Kidman is in that room with all the covered shit, you hear their voices saying, "Oh, it's a woman." So they don't know it's, oh yeah, this girl and the two kids were killed here. They wouldn't have said it's a woman if that was the case. They would have known already that they're dealing with a fucking girl and the two kids, right? So they're learning the same information as we're learning it. We just don't know that they're the dead ones, I think.
maybe it is. It's slightly
questions.
It
A lot of
is. There's
questions.
a lot of questions. It's slightly confusing. I mean, I think on the surface, it's pretty like we're obviously like, you know, critics, so we're like we delve deep into shit that probably doesn't need to be delved deep into, but that's our job on this podcast, right? But like, you know, surface level, I think most people don't think about this stuff. It's like, you know, okay, like you go A to B to C, but no, I mean, breaking it down, like you definitely can find a lot of issues with it.
Get Tom Cruise on the line. He produced this. We need to.
Yeah, he divorced her after. So
Did he
Oh,
really?
no.
He's like, fuck this
he
movie.
saw it. He's like, no more.
No, I'm done.
No.
You kissed that guy. It was just a scene, Tom.
Yeah, right.
All right,
Yeah.
want to rate this fucking thing?
Yeah, let's rate it because Todd's gonna get going. So I will start us off. Yeah, man, you know, at the end of the day, I still think it is a really solid ghost movie. The atmosphere is fantastic. It's the perfect movie to watch on a cold rainy day with the curtains drawn.
Oh,
You like that?
I like that. Throwback.
But yeah, man, it's good. The twist is still solid. I just think it's a little slow in the middle, but I still think it's a really solid ghost story. I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5.
Hey, you know what? If my ghost wife wants to come have sex with me, let's fucking do it. All right. Nicole Kidman's a babe. The story is really cool. It's set in a really cool way with the house being creepy. I think the kids do a good job for the most part. That being said, it's not scary, and I remember it being really scary. So maybe we're just gotten older into the point where we've seen like, scary, terrifying shit, and now this is just not as good. But I do remember, I think Steve mentioned it, there being a lot more scares to be had. I still think it's a good movie, and I'm keeping it at a 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you guys. 3.5 out of 5. Honestly, if I had gone just by memory, it probably would have been a 4.5 or a 5. So 3.5 is quite a big step down, but I still think it's a solid movie. Very atmospheric, great cinematography, great performances. Even the kids who aren't always the best, I thought they did a great job. It wasn't as scary as I remembered. It doesn't hold up to scrutiny as much as I remembered, and the twist kind of ruins it. Once you know what you're going into. Had I not known the twist, it'd probably be at least a 4. So yeah, that's the way it is. You're gonna rewatch movies sometimes. So 3.5 out of 5.
Alrighty. And our good friends over on Letterboxd, right there with us, just about, slightly higher, currently sitting at a 3.7 over on
pretty high.
Letterboxd. So there you have it.
Well, I apologize for the short review for the people listening. I got to bounce. I got football and meeting, and then it's also day 1 school tomorrow.
Fun.
So that's fun. So
Oh,
have fun.
day
For all
1
the
already? Oh my
Day 1
goodness.
tomorrow morning. For all the parents out there, we made it. We did it. So yeah, rejoice. I'll talk to you guys later.
Alrighty.
See you guys.
See you,
Bye.
buddy. Alrighty. Well, bye, Todd. Couldn't even stick around for the outro, I see, but that's all right. Steve, what do we got for next week?
So next week we are going to do something we've never done on the show, something unexpected, I think. We're going to review a Marvel film, which doesn't give a whole lot of choices because there aren't a ton of horror-ish Marvel films. This is my pick. It's one I've been wanting to do it for a while. I think it's one we should check out, and that is Blade from the late 90s. So yeah, I think it's horror enough to review, and I'm interested to revisiting it. Yeah, it'll be a fun review, I think.
Alrighty. So go and check it out for next week. Blade, of course, with Wesley Snipes. Did they shut down the new one? Or are they still making a new one?
They're apparently still making it. So
all right. All right. But go and check it out, the original Blade, for next week. In the meantime, you can keep up with the podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads. Just search the Horror Squad Podcast. You can also email us anytime, thehorrorsquadpodcast@gmail.com. But of course, the absolute best way to keep up with the podcast is our Discord, completely free to join. It is linked over on our Instagram, or you can send us a DM or an email, and we will get you a link to join the Discord. We got Movie Club over there every single month, hosted by Steve. We have a ton of other channels to go through. Yeah, great community over there. So please join us on our Discord, where you can find out things like events, including Hocus Pocus Weekend. It's just a bunch of Halloween weekend in Salem, Massachusetts, October 11th through the 13th. That is our final event for this year, as far as we know, unless something else pops up. But please join us for that. It's just a bunch of Halloween.com for tickets and all details. We will be there all weekend long. We will be hosting some of the events. It's going to be a ton of fun. So please join us for that. And it's Salem in October. I mean, it's an amazing time to be there. I mean, Halloween capital of the world. So come and join us for that. You can also leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app. That would help the podcast greatly. Or if you want to support the pod, buy some merch, tpublic.com, search the Horror Squad Podcast. That's also linked over on our Instagram. A few designs. I think we are planning a Christmas theme design this year. We shall see. That's something we definitely have to get on, but we'll talk about that offline. But yeah, I think it's coming. So we're excited for that one. And I think that's about it. So we hope you enjoyed our review this week for the others, and we'll see you next week for Blade. See ya.
Bye.